Welcome to Keystroke Live. This morning we are doing clerk passwords, and it's a very important topic in this day and age of security. Just a little bit of background on Keystroke Live. We've been doing this for a few years now. It's dealer-oriented training on keystroke software. Also, we occasionally have guest or partner presentations. It's the same time, same place every week. And the first Monday of the month, or first Wednesday of the month, is our President Michael Gebb, who will be here next week. So let's talk about clerk passwords. This first slide just is generally what the clerk record contains. There's a lot of fields on it, but it's really best practice for all clerks to have passwords. There are certain password parameters in Keystroke that you can set. If you'd like, the defaults are perfectly secure. The clerk record also includes, all kinds of employee information, their name, address, their phone numbers, etc. Also is a way to set their security level, look at their time clock status, what commission they might be eligible for. There's, just all kinds of information. And I'm going to show you this record in a few minutes. But let's talk specifically about passwords. For purposes of PCI, that's why Keystroke version 8 requires passwords, at least for administrators. An administrator in Keystroke is someone whose security level number is equal to or less than the security level number assigned to 5 specific security functions. These are those functions. So you can see as you look through these, basically with the default security levels, clerks with a security level of 5 or better, 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1, or 0, need to have secure passwords. So if someone can change parameters, they can edit security levels, if they can do file maintenance like packing and that sort of thing, if they can add clerks or edit clerks. Those are what determines whether or not a clerk in Keystroke, is an administrator or not. So if someone is an administrator, here are the some of the things that are, that are required. Needs to be at least 7 characters with at least 1 number or symbol and 1 letter. So that's considered a complex or a secure password. It is by default marked to expire in 90 days or less. And for PCI, we recommend keeping that 90 days. So you change it every 90 days and Keystroke will remind you. And the new password needs to be different than the last 4 passwords already used for that clerk. So you just can't change your password in 90 days to one and then 90 days later go back to your other one. It has to be different than the last 4 passwords. So let's take a look at this in Keystroke here. I'm in Database Manager. I've got the clerk main screen up. You can see all the fields that are available. The time clock over here, whether they're in or out. If you're setting up till tracking, their till number, clerk security level. Okay, this is where, remember, if it's a 0 to 5, they're considered an administrator. The password field, once you put a password in here, Keystroke's going to show all these masking characters regardless of the length of the password. So your password may only be 7 characters, but once it's saved, Keystroke puts in this whole line. So there's really no way to determine the length of a password here. And this again is more security. Let's look in Configuration Manager on the password parameters. The defaults are just fine, but if you want to require longer passwords or whatever, you can do that. But the defaults that I explained in Keystroke, 7 characters, 1 letter, 1 number, or symbol, that's fine. But you can require passwords, complex passwords for all of your clerks if you'd like. You can set a minimum length. You can set for how long it's good for. Maximum attempts by default for entering a password correctly is 6. Some of you have probably had some of your clerks or clerks at some of the various businesses forget their password. They keep trying to enter it. They enter it wrong. Maybe caps lock is on, or they're using the number pad, but the number pad's turned off. Who knows? And after 6 times, it's going to lock you out. You can choose to have it case sensitive, and you can set up the number of letters, numbers, or symbols. As I said, it's not necessary to change this. If you leave it in the default, just like this is, Keystroke will set it for 90 days, require clerks with a security level of 0 through 5 for at least 7 characters with at least 1 letter and 1 number or symbol. So that's kind of the default. And PCI, because of PCI requirements, there is no way to turn off requiring passwords in Keystroke version 8. So secure passwords will be required. So let's go back to our PowerPoint here. Remember, it is best practice for all your clerks. There are a lot of businesses that I've worked with that everybody uses the same clerk number. Everybody knows the password. The problem with that is if you really need to dig down into the data to figure out, hey, why is it that all of a sudden our sales seem to be lower than normal, or whatever. If clerks don't have unique clerk numbers and their own passwords, it's going to be difficult for security purposes. Also, if you use Keystroke for time clock, that's another reason, because you don't want a friend clocking in for somebody else who's running late or whatever. So it's best practice. Everybody has a password. Everybody has their own clerk record. For PCI compliant passwords, Keystroke, the default here is 5 to 0 is an administrator. You can change these. If you change the change parameter security level to 0 and the file maintenance security level to 0, then only zeros have to have complex passwords. What a lot of businesses do, and this is a great idea, have a couple of people that have 2 clerk records. One that's a 0 that allows them to access anything, and then one with a little bit lower security, less access just for day-to-day stuff. So that's one way you can get around having to have complex passwords anyway. If you want to change these security levels, and then for your upper level managers and owners, they can have 2 records. Okay, remember, secure complex passwords for administrators, 7 characters at least, with one number or symbol and one letter, expires in 90 days or less, and the new password has to be different than the last 4 already used for that clerk. So I'd like to open this up for questions. Anybody have any questions on clerks, clerk passwords, security?
I have a question.
Sure, Scott.
Is the 90-day increment, if you have that set for the password, the clerk can't change it in between on his own. He has to wait until that 90 days comes up then?
No, that's not true. The clerk, and that's a great point. Let me show you. A clerk can change their password at any time. So let's get out of this screen here. And all they have to do to change a password is go to the Utilities menu and change password.
And it only allows them to change it for whoever that's clocked in at that clerk did, I should say.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So whoever's clocked in, they can change their own password by going to the Utilities menu, change password, and if I change it today, if you're an administrator, it'll make the expiration date 90 days from today.
Okay. I'm going to ask a crazy question.
Okay.
Let's say somebody clocks in, they got the 90 days, at the end of 90 days, they like the password they have. Is there anything to prevent them from going in, changing their password again using something else, and then going back, basically at the same time going back to the original password?
No, there's nothing preventing them from doing that.
Okay. Okay.
So yes.
So that's a little loophole, I guess you might say, if you want to go back to the original password.
Sure. Sure. If you want to keep the same password, you can change it 4 or 5 times in a row and go back to your original one.
Okay. Sorry I brought that up.
That's okay. Any other questions?
You did such a good job.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Enjoy the rest of your week and have a lovely weekend. Next week will be Michael Gebb on the first Wednesday of the month. Have a great day. Bye-bye.